In the beginning, I thought we were this invincible marriage, and I had big hopes for the future, and loved young motherhood.
Yeah.
And then started to see signs of, which was also a miracle, because the woman who owned the home, I rented her basement, has become one of my best friends.
Wow.
When I met her, she said, "You know what? I went through this same thing about 15 years ago. You're going to be fine. Just move your stuff in." And she's become one of my dearest friends. So just miracles come out of everywhere. And I remember that we were moving right before Christmas time, and I thought, how are we going to make it through this? I have nothing to give the girls at Christmas. They're used to a certain lifestyle. Yeah. And I got home from work one day. This is another little miracle that came out of nowhere. And I walked up to the front door down the basement stairs, and there was a little box. And I opened it up, and there were 6 gold Christmas ornaments and about 20 gift cards that took us through Christmas time. And to this day, the girls and I take those 6 ornaments. I hang them on my tree. It's very meaningful every time. And I say, let's go do 6 nice things for people this Christmas year. We really have.
Welcome, Pretty Sisters. This is the Pretty Sister Podcast. I'm your host, Callie Stoyer. Always a joy to be with you, and happy that you're taking the time to listen and join us today. It's always my pleasure to introduce my guests to you, and today is no different. I have Suzette Shepherd, soon to be Myers. There's a whole story there that you're going to hear very soon, but she is a longtime friend, somebody I've known, dates back to
even later college days when I met Chris.
Yes. Because she married a friend of mine through childhood. And anyway, so I've known her a long time, but we spent many years not seeing each other, not being friends, and then got reacquainted later. So there's a lot of history, but a renewed friendship.
That's right.
And in that history, we're going to share that with you today because there's a lot of golden nuggets for you. I hope that you'll listen and kind of settle into this conversation, because it's my belief, and the reason why I do this podcast and interview women and bring these stories to you is I just know that we can help each other through sharing our stories, that we aren't going through things alone. I know many of us do. I mean, if you haven't yet, you will. We go through hard things. That's just the way life is. And it's meant to be that way, to make us stronger, to help us grow. And as we lean into sisterhood and friendship, we are not alone, that we have people there with us to support us and help us through those hard times. And this story today is going to be exactly all about that. There's so much sisterhood and friendship woven into her story of tragedy that has turned good. And so without me saying too much, we're going to jump right into it and let Suzette share. So I'll just kind of take you back, if you will, to, or maybe I'll set the tone a little bit because it may not be comfortable for you to do so, but a new young marriage that was a beautiful, thriving, happy marriage in the beginning, as oftentimes things do start off that way. I think we get married and we think this is just the beginning of our happily ever after. And in many cases it is, but not without hard work. But you were newly married, had 2 kids, and had a lovely blossoming life with a lot of success, a lot of material success that was going on. You lived in California and
Utah for the most part of it.
Okay.
Back and forth to California.
Because your husband was in the movie production business.
Started in the advertising agency industry and then moved into the film industry.
Okay.
And yes, we lived a great life and had 2 young daughters. And then and in fact, in the beginning, I thought we were this invincible marriage, and I had big hopes for the future, and loved young motherhood.
Yeah.
And then started to see signs of addiction first, and in my former spouse, and some mental illness, issues. I've learned a lot over the years about that.
And this was how many years ago now?
20
years ago?
It would have been over 20 years
years ago. So I think now we do know a lot more about mental illness and addiction, and we're talking about it a lot more, which is a wonderful thing, because I know that it affects many families. It's affected my own. I don't know that there's probably not a household that addiction or mental illness in some way has not affected. And so it's good that we're talking about it more. But back then, it probably was a little bit more of a lonely, quiet
It was a very lonely feeling. I remember going to church some Sundays, just sitting in Relief Society, like with the biggest pit in my stomach. I felt totally alone. I couldn't imagine, I knew other people were experiencing it, but it's just a very lonely feeling. And over time, I supported my former spouse through rehab once that finally came about. And the kids, we tried to just stick in there and make it work, and tried for many years, and it ended up being about almost a 20-year marriage. It got to the point where it was not tolerable to live in that situation, and I was worried for my own children, 2 daughters who are now grown and married and having happy, successful lives. But it took a lot of we went through a lot together. We grew closer. We went from living a nice life, the kids, traveling. We had a beautiful home, and then the kids were in private school. And then all of a sudden, in my early 40s, and I was talking to you before about how I had heard the story of when I was a young married woman. I heard the story of a woman who was married to a successful man, and suddenly she found herself living in a basement apartment, divorced, starting all over at midlife. And I remember at that time thinking, that sounds like a nightmare. Like how, and
not ever thinking that it would happen to you.
No.
But just thinking how terrible for her.
And I felt my heart went out to her. But it did feel like almost like a little warning or something, like it triggered in my mind. And then, 5-10 years later, I found myself in that same situation where at age 40, a total loss, moving out of my home.
How did you, so it was brewing for a long time, and you hung in there and tried and gave it your best shot. And then at some point it became unsafe, and, for everybody. And you made the courageous decision that things needed to change. So it wasn't abrupt, but yet you said it was all of a sudden. So I guess when that decision finally gets made, it feels like maybe something you just never thought you'd get to, and then all of a sudden you had to decide.
It felt, in fact, right when I said abrupt, I thought that's funny because it was a 10-year process. 8 to 10 year process. But in those first maybe 6 to 8 years, I was just in the mindset of, we're fixing this, we're going to make it work. And we just...
you were all in.
I was all in, trying to make it work. And he was too. And he's a good man who suffered with addiction that just, it got, it just got to that point where it felt abrupt because I hadn't prepared myself for living alone and for jumping back into the work world and turning my attention to those things. Well,
because you went from having that blessing of being a full-time mother, right? And then when you found yourself making this decision, then you went all of a sudden into a full-time single parent, because that was the circumstances in which you had sole custody and you had to be the sole breadwinner, caretaker, all of the things, right? Because it had gotten so bad that there wasn't a lot of participation on the other end.
Not a lot for a long period of time, for the crucial period of time during middle school and entering high school.
So tell us about that. Tell our audience, what did you go through?
So
if you're willing to share.
We moved out of our home. In fact, I have this distinct memory of finding out that I had to be out of my house within like 2 weeks. And being left with a car that didn't work, lost my other car. And I remember renting a moving truck, and I could not believe the help that showed up just from every direction. Within neighborhood, church, friends, family. The help was amazing, but I did find myself a number of times alone trying to move out of this big home into a friend of a friend's basement, which I thought would be a 6-month period of time where I could regroup. And it turned out to be a 4-year period of time where I had to rebuild from scratch. And I remember in this moving truck, I had rented it, moving things in the middle of the night. It was 3 a.m. and I was going up and down the hill from our house to this apartment. Luckily, it was kind of in the same neighborhood, so I felt like my kids could be in an area where they were used to. I was trying to keep everything as stable as possible for them. But I remember a neighbor coming out of his house at 3 a.m. going, "What is this sound?" Truck just, rushing back and forth down the street. "What are you doing?" And we said, "I am moving." And we said, "Well, you're right there." And he came out and jumped in the truck. He went back to the house, and we got tons of stuff done that night and helped me the rest of the night get, he and his wife get a bunch of whatever I needed, necessities, to this basement apartment, which was also a miracle because the woman who owned the home, and I rented her basement, has become one of my best friends.
Wow.
When I met her, she said, "You know what? I went through this same thing about 15 years ago. You're going to be fine. Just move your stuff in." And she's become one of my dearest friends. So just miracles come out of everywhere. And I remember that we were moving right before Christmas time. And I thought, how are we going to make it through this? I have nothing to give the girls at Christmas. They're used to a certain lifestyle. Yeah. And I got home from work one day. This is another little miracle that came out of nowhere. And I walked up to the front door down the basement stairs, and there was a little box. And I opened it up, and there were 6 gold Christmas ornaments and about 20 gift cards that took us through Christmas time. And to this day, the girls and I take those 6 ornaments. I hang them on my tree. It's very meaningful every time. And I say, let's go do 6 nice things for people this Christmas. We always try to do
pay it forward.
Yes.
Oh, I love it. I don't know about you listeners. I'm already trying to not cry. I'm already choked up just thinking, it's the time of year right now. So it's so meaningful to know that you were supported in that way, that people that are now crucial people in your life helped you in that moment. Yes. And what a gift. You can always see it in hindsight, the beauty that was being woven into your life and the blessings that they are now. We can see it clearly from this perspective. But in the moment, as the single mom showing up on the doorstep and having those gifts being given to you, I can feel just the emotion of what that must have felt like. All of it, right? The range of it. You probably were sad, you were glad and grateful, and just
so grateful, and felt like I had not been forgotten. And to this day, I don't know who dropped that box off.
That's amazing. Okay, so you had to pick yourself up and start over. Tell everybody where you were at. You said you were working. Yes. Walk us through that. How did you do that? Because I do think so many times we feel hopeless and we don't know even where to start in these situations. And of course, hopefully you're never in this situation, but we know that whether it's this exactly or any other way or shape that these life curveballs throw at us, it comes in all kinds of ways. But I guess what I want you to glean from this is that you can do it, you can get through it, and you can create beautiful things from your story. Yes. And that's what you did. So how did you do it?
Yes, I can do it. You can do it. That's for sure.
Yes.
I felt very alone many times, but there was always this undercurrent where I felt lifted in the lowest times. Yeah. We moved into this basement apartment. It was just my 2 daughters and myself. And I just took the first job I could find. I had a nursing background, but I had let my nursing license expire.
Because you weren't needing to work.
I was a stay-at-home mom for 15 years. And so I jumped into the work world as a caregiver and started taking care of the most amazing woman. I cared for her for 7 years. She had Alzheimer's disease. Had no idea what that would lead me into.
Yes, which is how we're connected now, is through that.
Yes. Took care of her for 7 years. I have on my phone, I have in my notes, it's called Ireneisms. Her name was Irene. she was just the most delightful, pleasant, funny, uplifting person. She had been through a lot herself. And I learned so much from her and her family. And that was the job that kind of kept me going.
Yeah.
That helped me
have companionship too.
Companionship and just joy. And it helped me keep going through that time.
Well, I think that there's something beautiful in that because, and I try to teach this to my kids who, like, when teenagers are super self-absorbed, which is a natural thing for that age, I think that's the natural tendency. And so to help them be happier, I try to bring them out and focus on others. Yes. And that's a life skill that if I can teach them that at a young age, I think that we do better, because that is how we get outside of our own troubles and our own problems, is to then serve and focus on other people. And that's why that job for you, I think, was such a beautiful thing at that time in your life, because if you were to have gone inward in your own problems, which were valid and huge, but if you're just focused on that, we can't work our way out of them. But if we can lift ourselves out and focus on others, it's lighter, and we can problem solve better. So it was beautiful that your job was to serve.
Yes. Thank you.
And you got paid for it.
Yeah. I felt like I would just go and be with her. Yes. But yes, I was paid for that, and it kept me going. It kept me, I could help my children with their needs. I felt like I could take care of myself and independent. And I just felt joy in spending time with her every day as well. And I have that same thought where I totally agree. When my children would feel down or come to me and say, I feel depressed or down or this, I'd say, let's go do something for somebody else. That's the first thing I would say, even if it's as simple as like making cookies and taking them and surprising somebody. Yeah. First thing I would think of is let's go do something for somebody else. And that's why I think you're right. That job carried me through. And I felt it was fulfilling and meaningful. Yeah,
I love that. So another thing that let's talk about now, and then we'll get back to your career, because I think it's fun the way that just ended up evolving and blessing you. But in the messy time of this, you had a friend that taught you a skill set, and you brought a journal. And so tell us about that.
It's interesting because she helped me so much through a tough time. And it's a small group of women that would come together. And then as we speak, she's at my home, staying with me for a week in between moves during a hard time. So, it just comes around. But during the time right before my divorce, my friend, her name's Emily, she's the author of Ordinary Mary's Extraordinary Deed. It's a really sweet children's book about giving back. Emily Pearson. She sat me down and said, okay, we're not going to let you sink. We're going to start this, what she called it was a reinvention group. And so we had another friend, Dorothy, who joined us, and there were 3 of us at least, and we'd meet together, and for a while we did it monthly or weekly. I'm trying to remember. Maybe it was twice a month.
So she organized this for your support. I love it. See, we're never in this alone, girls. We can be powerful together.
And this meeting changed my life. I have my little notebook here. It's not pretty, but it's separated into categories. Got some races on it that I finally ran as one of my goals. Since childhood, I've been very goal-oriented because, my father was always a goal-oriented person. And before we started the school year, he'd sit us down and say, what are your goals? So that's where it started. And then this resonated with me because it was kind of similar to that, where we had someone to answer to. We periodically, regularly. And we would write down our goals, and then we check up on each other.
Oh, nice. Have some accountability.
And within the book, there are categories, and we've got little, different separators here, dividers. And we would
read some of these to us.
Some
of these categories, just to give people an understanding. You've got tabs, color-coded tabs.
It's mind, finances, career, home, talents, intimate relationships, family, body, social, fun, and giving back. So I love it. We didn't forget the fun element too.
Never forget the fun. Ever.
And I would just hand write. It's not pretty. I would hand write and it changed over the years, but I would write kind of my goal, like I am, financially independent, or, and let's see.
Well, there's so much power in writing things down. And so I love that you can now look back at this with all of these doodles and pictures she's got cut out and handwritten notes of all the dreams and affirmations. And
it's written as a, right now I am this. So, so setting the goals, kind of very clearly in your mind, I would, take the time to meditate and picture it, even details. So thinking about it, then the big thing, like you said, writing it down. I have boxes of journals, and just within this book, I would write things down, very specific details, and then I would just kind of release it.
Yes, into the book.
Yes.
And let it do its thing.
Yes.
Let the magic happen.
Yes. And then as as my life started to rebuild, I kind of set this aside for 5 or more years and kind of forgot about it. And then when I met Chuck, my current husband now, I pulled it out and started reading through it. And I could not believe the details and things that manifested that were written specifically.
I can believe it. Because this is so powerful and this is available free,
Yes.
Well, and I love that you were doing it with girlfriends, because that support network, if you're going through something hard, don't do it alone. You don't need to do it alone, and assimilate into a group of women, your pretty sisters, and do these dream books together, because it's so powerful. But yeah, you said much of this had come true, right?
Yes. And speaking of pretty sisters, I'm so inspired by that. When I started learning about what you were doing through our mutual friend, the way I watch the Pretty Sisters network or group support one another, and the confidence that's built is just inspiring to watch.
Oh, thank you.
So I appreciate it. I'm just happy to be here. But yes, for example, even small details, like in my intimate relationship part, because I had been going through a divorce, and I thought, I don't think I'll ever get married again. Right. I don't know. Who knows? I just don't know.
You kind of lose faith and hope in the institution of marriage, but you rebuilt that.
But years and years later, I looked back over what I had written down, what I was hoping for, and even details like, just for intimate relationships. Oh yeah, I wrote things down like, of course, my best friend, honest, loyal, all the things that most people hope for, respect, kindness. Yeah. But I had written details like, compliments me, which sounds maybe selfish, but I was in my former relationship, I was a little more reserved, but there was not a lot of complimenting or building up of one another. Yes. Not just one person's to another, but and things like pet names. I think it's so cute when I see couples and they have pet names. Yeah. And in my former marriage, everything was more serious and not. So even playful. Simple things like that, every single thing on the list was just checked off, and I have more pet names than I can handle, and all things like that.
I think it's important to mention the details, and I think what's happening there is, if we don't get clear on what we want, we can't manifest it. We can't bring it to pass. But I think the second you can get so clear that you can write out all those little things that you want, then we can go out and find it. Yes. Or not even just, it can come to us. It can it can all work together for our good when we know what it is that we want and desiring.
Yes. And one thing, I've always loved music, but I don't have a great voice. I just took piano lessons most of my life. And one of the things I had written under talents and hobbies is to be able to be musically expressive. I'm not good with words. I have a little shy side. I'm, in crowds, I'm not great speaking, what I mean? But I said, I want to be expressive with music and be able to express myself through music. Yes. I wrote that down, totally forgot about it. Years later, as my husband and I were going through this book, he said, look what you've done. You started a band. Yeah. Like my friend, and I started a band at age 40. We called it our midlife crisis band.
I love it.
And we wrote a song for our foundation
Yes.
as a theme song.
Yes.
So,
You've been doing all of these things
yes,
through music.
like 10, 15 years ago, I would have never guessed or pictured myself being brave enough to try it.
Right.
Or even, confident enough.
Yeah. Well, and I love that. And I love, even your willingness to sit down and have this conversation today, because I know that about you. You are more reserved and quiet. You have a quiet strength about you. And so this probably isn't super comfortable to share. But it's so important that we do share and that we do lift our voices and help one another. And I love that you were doing that through music too, and that you wrote that song for the foundation. Yeah. It's amazing what we can do.
Thank you. And when you mentioned quiet strength, it brought me back to my friend Emily, who started the Reimagined notebook. I think one of the things in my former marriage where I felt less than, I think maybe sometimes I was accused of being too passive or, my friend Emily said, no, it's, embrace your sweetness or that side. And just because she kind of pointed out, and a couple of other friends pointed out that when we started the band, for example, I would say, I started a little band. She's like, stop using the word little. Like you started a band. Yes.
It's amazing.
So I've had to practice, that. Right. And really had a handful of friends who helped me, and through the Pretty Sisters, and all of the friendships and group that is here and within Pretty Sisters. It's always a reminder of just being your best self.
Yes. And just putting that forward. And we do couch it or put limitations, a small little band, or I'm not really doing much. And that it's a modesty that I think we put forward because it feels, it helps us to not be completely vulnerable, to kind of, sidestep it. But I think that's a great reminder that we can drop that we can just go out and do and be and have permission to do that without feeling foolish. And just, I guess we don't always know how our efforts are going to be received and supported. And so I think that's why we do that. But if I could just put this idea into your head to just not worry about how it's going to be received, and just instead of assuming, we can assume either direction, that it's going to be received with success or optimism, positivity, or it could be we could have somebody put out a negative comment to us or make us feel bad. It could go either way. So why not just decide to assume it's going to go for the best? Like just in all things, like just assume it's going to be received with the best intentions. Just assume that your Pretty Sisters are going to support you. Just assume that. And then if you get some negative feedback along the way, then you'll deal with it. But I think we can do so much more if we'll just assume the best for ourselves and for others. And I think most of the time we do want to help each other. And if not, you should want to help each other. And so this is your invitation to do that and to be supportive to one another.
Yeah, I love that. Because mindset is everything.
Yeah.
And I'm learning the older I get, the more I realize how important mindset is.
Well, you definitely had a leg up in all this mindset that you were working on.
Yeah.
I think now, again, as we can have this conversation in reverse and look back at it, it's amazing to see how powerful it all was for you. So let's go back to your story a little bit and fill in some of the details for everybody, because I think it's beautiful. So you were working as a caretaker, and then tell everyone where that led you, like some of those steps, because it's just a beautiful story.
Yes, that was a miracle in itself, because I was working for 7 years as a caregiver, very fulfilling, beautiful experience. And through that, the woman I was caring for, her son was so appreciative because he lived out of state, and I was her only person in the state. She had a huge network of, within her community, but as a, a daily caregiver to be there.
And I know how important that is, because I manage my mom's care, who has Alzheimer's, and we're always looking for support to help in that job. And to have someone like you, so sweet, so kind, so loving, to care for another is a blessing. So I just am thinking about how much I can relate to how much he appreciated you.
Yes, we built a great relationship, and he would fly out every month to just pamper his mom and me monthly. And then in the meantime, I was there every day, and then I set up a team of people to care for her at the home. It was kind of like its own little care center. It evolved around her needs.
Yeah. And real quick, because you mentioned this to me before, I think it's fun for the other women to hear. he would fly into town and pamper you.
Yes.
And you had said that when you got divorced, one of the fears was because you were living kind of paycheck to paycheck in this basement apartment that you thought, oh, I'll never have nice things. I'll never have a nice meal again. You just feel that way. But yet you did. You had somebody pampering you in a different way through a different source. And I think our needs can always continue to be met, but it just shows up in a different way.
Exactly. So true. It was so meaningful. And then I was even more grateful for it, through that experience. So he became one of my biggest mentors, her son.
Yeah.
The woman I was caring for, her son. And he said, you need to go back to school, and so he helped send me back to the University of Utah to do the gerontology graduate certificate program. So I did that. It took me a couple of years. I just did it slowly, learned so much. And it was perfect timing because during that time, her needs were increasing and it was giving me more skills to be able to help her with what she needed and to set up this whole care team. And
it's probably daunting to go back to school at a late age.
Yet in mid-40s at that time.
Yet you did it. And I think education is so powerful. It really does set us free in so many ways. It just gives us more options and opportunities. And whether you're going, considering going back or getting your education now, I'm a big advocate for getting your education young and when you can, but at any age. And now there's really no excuse because there's so many ways to learn. And I'm speaking of whether that's a college degree, a master's degree or certificate that you got. There's so many ways that we can get certificates in all kinds of ways online. That it doesn't have to always be a traditional route, but do educate yourself and receive skills so that you can work and provide an income.
Yes. And through that program and through setting up this the system for Irene, that is how our mutual friend, Christy, connected me with Katie and Dr. Blanche with the Linden Legacy Foundation. At that time, Dr. Blanche, who's our foundation founder, his wife was needing that constant care, and she hadn't moved into a care center at that point. So, Christy, our friend, was connecting us, maybe as possibly, helping her.
Yes.
At that point, they were just transitioning into the care center. Lots of moving parts as caregiving is.
Yes.
It requires lots of flexibility but that's how we were introduced. And so at that point, Katie said, "Are you available to help us with our foundation? We're focusing on caregiver support. What ways, what do you think caregivers need? Dementia caregivers, Alzheimer's caregivers. What is the biggest need?" So that was my first task, was sort of researching what are the biggest needs, which came right down to respite, as you know, and respite care, like giving the caregiver a break, because it's a long road.
Yes, it's a very long road.
So we set up a respite grant program. And so that, it's been one of the biggest joys of my life to be part of Linden Legacy Foundation, where we have people apply for caregiver respite grants. And that's my main role, is to coordinate the respite grants.
Yes.
And then to head up the caregiver conference once a year. Those are my two main roles. And then I help with the events. Like Kelly's always a huge part of the Big Pumpkin Patch event fundraiser, which is my favorite event of the year.
Fantastic event. They do wonderful events to fundraise to then provide these respite grants that are wonderful things to partake in.
So it's just been amazing how, even though I had this huge loss and I had lost my career in a way because I had let my nursing license lapse, it all came back around where I'm still, ended up, as I have been working with Linden Legacy Foundation, I went back to school again, finished my master's in gerontology, which is now, helping me in my role with Linden Legacy Foundation. And, that was hard for me. That was 3 years of just, I told my kids, I said, don't plan on coming over for Christmas, or although we did, but I was just always kind of, it was a lot of work.
Yes.
I learned so much. I feel like a renewed person. I feel kind of like a late bloomer because, I had lots of great experiences early in my life, But I feel like from age 40 on, I'm 56 now. I mean, I've tried all these new things.
It's like you've had a whole other lifetime in that span.
Running, yeah, I had all these goals, running the half marathons on my 40th birthday and then continuing. And, this fulfilling career, helping families. That was my word, helping families. I didn't know it was going to be this route.
Right. But,
and some of the things are very specific. Some of them are even better than I had written down. I
love that when you put it out there and ask for this or better. I think we often get better. And so if you're in a dark space, know that you will, like, good is coming, better is coming, that there's always hope for your future and hope for what you can create and you just have to be willing to still dream and to not shut the door on or allow the negativity to cloud, because you might be in a hard place right now, but there is hope and your dreams still can come true. And I love how you've been able to accomplish that and in such a beautiful way, and also with so much support from others. And I know we don't have time for all the stories, but even our friend Christy that you mentioned that networked, she's such a great networker, but kind of networked you into this Linden Legacy Foundation. She became more than a friend. She's kind of become an aunt to your daughters, right?
A second aunt.
Just kind of, co-parented with you in some ways. I know you vacationed a lot through the years. You've even bought a house,
a huge support
together that was like for
me through my in-between phase.
Which was such a beautiful thing. And that shows the power of true, deep friendship when women are supporting women to get through hard times. And I thought that's always been a beautiful example of deep friendship and the joy that can come through that. Okay, we have to tell just a few more quick stories of just the beautiful things that have come to pass, just to really anchor in for women to know, like, good things are ahead. Like, that's what I want you to know. Good things are ahead. So you got married just recently, like in the last few weeks. It's been like the final, I know you've done like some mini weddings leading up to it.
Ring ceremony at my family reunion last summer, and then we did the official county clerk's office,
and there was a long engagement because you had like COVID interruptions to things. It was a long courtship.
Still in high school, we were trying to figure out we don't want to make things awkward for them. So it was a long courtship. And then
in fact, you had something, what did you say earlier? It's like it's messy, and there was another word.
Meaningful.
Meaningful and messy, because that's what it's all been, is when you're blending families and whatnot, there's a lot of hard decisions. And so you finally, though, did get married in the last few weeks. And one of the things that's been tricky is the name, right?
Yes.
That's why I said in the beginning, this is Suzette Shepherd, soon to be Myers, maybe MacArthur. You're trying to figure it out.
Former name, maiden name, not even the right word now. Then I was Shepherd for many years, but both of my daughters got married, and
so now they're not Shepherd anymore.
They've married wonderful men, and I thought, well, it's time for a change and a new start, another fresh start, and I'm setting new goals. And so I think at my stage in life, I'm going to change my name for the third time. Maiden name, my first married name, and now Myers. So I think I'll do a hyphen, maybe MacArthur Myers, to keep a little of my identity.
So some decision making still to be done there, but
and a big process to do that name change after I've had my career, and just and so many years with that name. So,
well, definitely good luck with that decision and all of that goes into it. One other thing I wanted to mention, because it's so fun. Last year, you did something really special. Tell everybody about that, because that was such a fun thing that you did. Do you know what I'm talking about?
This was the most recent.
Well, you can tell us a few, but what I'm specifically thinking of involved a red carpet. Tell everyone about that, because what a big dream come true.
It is a big circle that I've experienced, because my life has been just a roller coaster of, rising above and then losing and then rising. And so after that big loss, during the divorce and all the things that we just talked about, my current husband, Chuck, who's amazing and just kind, all the things on the list.
Yes.
Sweet, supportive. He said, "Oh, I was nominated for a Grammy Award, for his music." He said,
No big deal.
He's a music composer, and he did worked on the soundtrack. He's the lead composer for the Hogwarts Legacy, which was nominated for a Grammy Award.
Which is so exciting, such a big deal, so fun.
Called Callie instantly to borrow a dress. And we got to go walk the red carpet and do the whole Grammy experience. And that was just so fun and so unexpected. That was one of those things that in that full circle, it was such an exciting.
Because you began kind of in the producer Hollywood arena with your husband, your first husband, and then all these years later, to be back.
Never experience it again.
Yeah. To be back to having nice dinners, pretty dresses, walking the red carpet. That's the example of this or something better. I mean, that's better than you could have dreamed of.
It was definitely better than I ever imagined or dreamed of. And same thing with our honeymoon, just barely. This was part of a dream. As a young girl, when I was 17, I was studying French and I was looking at my textbook and there was this picture of like a hut in Tahiti. And I remember just looking at it thinking that's my dream honeymoon. That's my dream honeymoon. And I kind of,
as is most of our dream honeymoon. I would say you're not alone in that dream. Yes, I can picture it.
The picture was very specific. And I remember thinking, and I wrote in my journal that this is my dream in a honeymoon. And I wrote about it, what it looked like. And it just always stuck with me. And years later, I think over time, I kind of forgot about it.
Yeah.
And hadn't thought about it in years. But at one point, I had a dream about it. And I dreamt about the white sand and the palm trees, and specifically a little white golf cart driving.
Yeah.
And there were some specific funny details. And so I was at work maybe, a couple months ago. And Chuck texts me and he goes, "What do you think about this for our honeymoon?" He sent the picture that was the exact picture from my 17-year-old textbook.
Wow.
That I had dreamt about. And he said, "How about this?" And I said, "That was my dream." He said, "Done." And he just planned it. So it was just so amazing. It gives me chills to think about.
Wow. It gives me chills too.
Yes.
And so that's what you just did.
So we just got back a couple weeks ago. I live in that week is like kind of like a lifetime within a lifetime. It felt like I was experiencing deja vu the whole time.
Yeah.
Almost like when I was younger, I knew I would go through some hard things. I'd had a dream that certain things would happen and then I would go through a rough time, but I always felt hopeful.
Yes.
That it was that knew that things would eventually get better.
Right.
And I feel like this trip was kind of the beginning of things just getting better. Of course, hard times are going to come and go, but you're
equipped. You know the end. You know that you're going to be okay. And I think when we could lock into that, just knowing that you've got this, baby girl, you're going to be okay. I'm expect to get emotional myself, but we go through hard things and you feel like, oh, I can't do it, but you can do it. And you will have beautiful dreams come true. And you just have to believe. I mean, really, you just have to believe. That's true. And just know that you're not alone, that you have support. You have so much support. Yes. And sometimes that comes in friendship, but also I love how you had some premonitions, like even that thought of the woman who's moved into the basement by herself, and that seemed hard. Like, how could she do that? But then it happened to you. Sometimes there are warnings like that just prepare us for what's to come. And it's a gift, It
really, now that you say it like that, I think it was, because it did help me to start preparing my mind for, preparing myself, I guess.
And then I think what happens, though, is when you realize, well, someone else has gone through it too, it feels better. Not that we're wishing it upon anyone else, but just knowing that other people have gone through hard things and they've made it through, so I can too. And that's why I think we share these stories, is that people can realize you can have beautiful things and you can get through hard things and have a wonderful, happy life. And I would say, because I know you're girls, so you're beautiful girls that are doing well now, and I'm sure you all went through very hard times, but but you were happy in the process. Wouldn't you say there was a lot of happiness in the hard as you went through it?
Yes, that was a goal. And when we first moved into that basement, we were at IKEA and I bought this. There was this modern piece of art that was just a green blob, but it was kind of cool. And I put it on the wall and I said, this stands for grit and go. Like, we're just going to keep moving forward. And so we would see it in our hallway like every day. And we made that little apartment into this cute little haven for ourselves. And we bonded and we grew closer. And that was our goal, to just find the happiness, even in the simple moments. One funny example is Cheryl, who she's the person who owned the home that I rented her, rented her basement during that hard time. When we moved into the basement, Jade was my youngest daughter said, I don't know if my friends are going to come over anymore. I don't know. We're in a basement and far away, down the road. And so I said, let's just invite all of your friends over. So we invited them all over, and we, I just had a bunch of blow up mattresses outside because Cheryl said, you have full reign of the backyard. And so we blew up all these air mattresses. I put a TV out, like some monitor outside, so they could watch a movie. And all the kids were there. Cheryl was super supportive. They all slept over. They were having a great time. And then about midnight, Cheryl walks out the upstairs, back door to the backyard with this huge tray of brownies.
Oh,
and Jade
so
said,
sweet.
I think we're in the right place.
We're going to be
and
okay.
Then it was no big deal. We survived there more than we thrived. I miss that basement sometimes, but now we're moving forward. I have new dreams, new goals, a new amazing husband and his children. We blended our family. There's just this wonderful group of people supporting one another. And, my new goal, you can see this on the screen, actually, the picture of these children I met in Taiwan when I was there. So I met them many years ago. That's my new goal, is to write a true amazing story happened when I was there in Taiwan, and I have started working on a children's book about this true story. So that's my next big goal.
Oh, I love that.
We'll see. It's my retirement project.
Yes. Well, knowing you, I know you'll get this.
I'm working on it.
It'll be it'll probably, in that sense of this or something better, we're probably going to see a movie come out about the story.
I love that. This or something better. When you set your intentions, I like thinking of it that way.
Yes.
Like, best case scenario you're thinking of, you're writing it down, but this or better.
Yes. And you are living proof of that. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much.
I love your story. And I love to end on asking what dreams are ahead, but I didn't even have to ask because we naturally went there, because you are such a dreamer. And I love that about you, that you've always had them leading the way and helping you to arrive at these beautiful places in life. So let that be a reminder to you, pretty sisters. Keep on dreaming. There are good days and miracles ahead in store for you. And I hope that you have a wonderful season of dreams and magic this month and always. And stay pretty. Until next time, we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining.